next speakers are our delegation of Kiev, Professor Dr. Volodymyr Ritsun, PhD, Bogdana Nosova and PhD Yuri Havrilets from Ukraine. Welcome to you. I'm really proud that Dr. Ritsun, the head of the Institute of Journalism in Kiev, is here at the first time. I'm sorry. The first time he met Jürgen Grimm, I think, was in Istanbul at the conference, and they found common interests in the field of journalism and the convenience of history. He is chief of Department of Social Communication and head of Science of Methodical Commission of Journalism and Information on the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. Bogdana Nosova is on the same institute, and she knows the field of science of communication as well as the practical fields, because she's a researcher on the one hand and journalist and newscaster on the other. Yuri Havrilets, also from the Institute of Journalism in Kiev, a specialist for media fact research and news meditation. The contribution today is about two big dramas in the memory culture in the Ukraine, the Holocaust and the Holodomor.
Holocaust in Ukraine is a systematic extermination of Jews in Ukrainian land occupied by Nazi in 1941-1944. In this period, around 3 million civilians perished on our lands, of whom approximately 850,000 up to 900,000 were Jews who lived in Ukraine. Extermination of Jews that had already taken place in Poland and other areas occupied by Nazi was extended also to Ukraine at once after Nazi troops invaded USSR June 24, 1941. In particular, extermination was conducted in big Ukrainian cities where lots of Jews had lived. In Lviv, Odessa, Kharkiv, Kamyanets-Podilsky, city of Kiev and Kiev region, Jews were resettled to ghettos, then they were killed. On the territory of Reich Commissariat Ukraine, Volyn, Podilla, and before long central Ukraine to the west of Dnipro, this chieftain was Erich Koch. The greatest number of Jews were killed. Jews in annexed by Hungary, Carpathian Ukraine, as well as a majority of Hungarian Jews, were resettled in 1944 to concentration camp Auschwitz. Many Ukrainians risking their lives saved Jews from extermination. Israel's official memorial to the victim of the Holocaust, Yad Vashem, and activists managed to ascertain 2,472 savers Ukrainian who have gotten honorary title Righteous Among the Nations. As you can see in the photo of the blessed hero martyr Clement Sheptytsky. Clement Sheptytsky was recognized as one of the righteous among the nations by the State of Israel in 1995. He was a younger brother of Metropolitan Bishop Andrei Sheptytsky. There is known case when in Halachina, Western Ukraine, 100 Ukrainians were executed only for trying to save Jewish life. Sometimes religious committees saved Jewish family. Some organizations that collaborated with Nazi also tried to help Jews. In November 1941, Ukrainian committee in Lviv sent to Nazi authority memo with protest against arranging ghetto in Lviv. This committee established Ukrainian Polish-Jewish coordination body for helping prisoners. A lot of sins for saving Jews were done by Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. Greek Catholic priests baptized Jews to make them eligible for Christian documents. Studied and Basilian monks hid hundreds of Jews in the monasteries. Some Orthodox and Protestant priests saved Jews' life. Actively resisted to Jews' extermination, Metropolitan Bishop Andrei Sheptytsky. He sent an open letter to Himmler with protest against killing Jews and involving in these actions Ukrainian subsidiary police. Sheptytsky was the only priest of such rank in occupied Europe who openly defended Jews. In November 1942, Andrei Sheptytsky released a priest letter that was called "Don't Kill," which condemned any killing, but foremost politically or ideologically motivated, as it was in the case of Jews. Only in 2 days, 29 and 30 September 1941, in Babin Yar in Kiev, were shot 34,000 Jews. Babin Yar is a ravine in northwest side of Kiev. Babin Yar became internationally known for mass shooting of mainly Jews in 1941-1943, committed by Nazi occupation command during Second World War. According to historical, in Babin Yar also victims of Holodomor 1932-1933 were buried. During Nazi occupation in Kiev in 1941-1943, Babin Yar became a place of mass shooting committed by Nazi of civilian and Soviet prisoner of war, Jews or Gypsies by ethnicity, as well as Soviet party activists, member of underground Ukrainian nationalist organization, hostages, curfew violator, and others. Mass shooting took place in Babin Yar and in disposed nearby Syrets concentration camp up to liberation of Kiev from Nazi occupation. Syrets concentration camp is, in German sources, is Kiev West concentration camp, created by occupation government during Second World War in June 1942 in northwest part of Kiev in Syrets area. It was aimed to detain prisoners. It was subordinated to concentration camp inspection of Third Reich, according to the German sources, since July 1942 till 1943. This camp functioned as an external squad of concentration camp. Sachsenhausen, as I said, more than 30,000 people were killed there. The pictures of memorial complex Babin Yar in Kiev. I would like to mention about the main Holocaust Research Center in Ukraine. This is a Ukrainian Center for Holocaust Studies in partnership with Ivan Kuras Institute of Political and Ethnic Studies of National Academy of Science of Ukraine and Faina Petrakova Center for Judaica and Jewish Art, Center for Studies of History and Culture of East European Jewry, National Historical Memorial Complex Babin Yar, and also Israel Cultural Center in Kiev. Briefly, it's all.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, our research team would like to make an overview on a historical issues perception. In particular, it is essential to present historical problem that two historical actually problems that vastly affected memory culture of Ukraine, that is Holodomor and Holocaust in Ukraine. Well, the greatest grief of Ukrainian people that touched every Ukrainian family were the famines of 1921-23, 1946-47, and 1932-33, as the biggest famine, Holodomor, Ukrainian Holodomor, literal translation, killing by famine. At the beginning of 1920s, the Bolsheviks' authority first used the starvation as a weapon of mass destruction, aimed at the Ukrainian people who sought freedom and democracy. For the first time in history, terror, famine was introduced against an entire people. You can see the map of the southern areas of Ukraine affected by the famine in 1921-23. During the famine of these years in Ukraine, according to various estimates, 1.5 up to 3 million people perished. It was the first bloody price Ukraine paid for struggling for independence and freedom. Another mass famine of 1946-47, another black date in the history of Ukraine. Among the causes of a complex post-war famine was still determining the Stalin's policy of grain procurements. Meticulous analysis of documents and the reasons for famine indicate that on its artificial nature. Holodomor was the biggest famine. It was committed in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic between 1932 and 1933. During the famine, millions of Ukrainians died of starvation in a peacetime disaster, unprecedented in the history of Europe. Figures of the death toll posed by scholars and government officials vary vastly, anywhere from 1.8 to 10 million ethnic Ukrainians that have been killed as a result of the famine. The exact number of deaths is hard to determine due to a lack of records. November the 28th, 2006, Ukrainian Parliament Verkhovna Rada officially recognized Holodomor of 1932-33 as a genocide act against Ukrainian people. According to Ukrainian legislation, public denial of Holodomor is considered illicit. Holodomor is an act of genocide against Ukrainian people committed by the leadership of Communist Party and government of USSR during 1932-33 by organizing an artificial famine that entailed deaths of millions of Ukrainians in rural areas in Ukraine and Kuban, to cracking down on Ukrainian national liberation movement and for physical extermination of Ukrainian villagers. During decades in the aftermath, mass killing with famine was not only concealed by the Soviet leadership, but it was a taboo topic to mention anywhere. How this tragedy became possible? Totalitarian regime largely relied on physical extermination of Ukrainians, making several steps. Forcibly expropriated foods from Ukrainian villages, blocked separate villages and districts, people were banned to leave suffering from famine areas of Ukraine, prohibited all the trade in villages and towns, committed repressions against dissidents. Such a policy of the regime is regarded as a crime against humanity that complies with the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide of December the 9th, 1948. According to historians, organizing Holodomor was an integral element of communist policy implemented by Soviet government. Holodomor was an instrument aimed at shattering Ukrainians' aspirations for independence. Mostly suffering of famine were children who were largely unadaptable. Soviet government always tried to conceal traits of criminal policy. Systematic informational blockade was made up in the context of Holodomor. Those actions of Soviet government were aimed at changing national population stratification to kill Ukrainian villagers. During many decades in USSR, Holodomor topic was under severe prohibition for mentioning. Stalin regime created a system of concealing the truth about millions of Ukrainians' mass killings during 1932-33. Then party leadership blocked any information about real situation in Ukraine. It deliberately misinformed world community as if there isn't any famine in USSR. Nevertheless, some Western journalists who visited Ukraine at that time, encircled in the Iron Curtain, could inform the world about the truth of mass killings in our country. In Soviet Ukraine, it was dangerous not only to report on artificial famine in press, in letters to party leaders, to relatives abroad, but even in private diaries. Any carelessness could destroy lives, turn into decades of Gulag camps imprisonment. However, in spite of all perils, there were people who could not keep silence about this crime. They tried to tell the truth and to bring it to the world. We call them people of truth, and 2015, these people were commemorated for honesty and courage. These people are largely different by working field, from God in a collective farms to the President of the League of Nations. But all of them are united with common aspiration, to bring the truth about terrible crimes of communist authorities to our society and the world community. Among these people are the following persons: Gareth Jones, Raphael Lemkin, the author of the term genocide, who is a Jew by origin, and he actually invented that term, and he was researching Holodomor topic also. Gareth Jones, British journalist, author of more than 20 articles on famine. He visited Soviet Union for 3 times. Malcolm Muggeridge, British journalist, author of a number of articles describing famine in Ukraine. Andrei Sheptytsky, Metropolitan Bishop of Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. Milena Rudnicka, social activist, Polish Sejm deputy, author of reports on Holodomor. Johann Ludwig Mowinckel, Norwegian Prime Minister, League of Nations President in 1933, who set a Holodomor issue on the agenda of League of Nations. Robert Conquest, American historian, Sovietologist, author of a book, Harvest of Sorrow. James Mace, American historian, chairman of US Congress Holodomor Commission, author of multitude of reports on Holodomor. Holodomor in Ukraine of 1932-33 was officially recognized as a genocide of Ukrainian people by 13 states: Australia, Georgia, Ecuador, Estonia, Canada, Colombia, Latvia, Lithuania, Mexico, Paraguay, Peru, Poland, and Hungary. 10 more states officially condemned Holodomor as an act of mass extermination committed by totalitarian Stalinist regime and commemorated its victims, in particular Andorra, Argentina, Brazil, Vatican, Spain, Italy, Slovakia, USA, Czech Republic, and Chile. In November 2003, 58th session of UN General Assembly adopted common statement in commemoration of the 70th anniversary of Great Famine, where it was recognized as a national tragedy of Ukrainian people. For adopting this common statement voted 64 member states of UN, including Russia. 23rd October 2008, European Parliament acknowledged Holodomor in Ukraine a crime against humanity and expressed condolences to the Ukrainian people. 28th of April 2010, Parliament Assembly of Council of Europe adopted a resolution to commemorate perished people as an outcome of famine 1932-33 in Ukraine and other republics of former Soviet Union. Condemned cruel policy of Stalinist regime, PACE also admitted that Ukraine suffered the most of forcible collectivization. And now we'd like to show you some short videos, social advertising video, let's call it this way, on Holodomor, how it was presented in Ukraine. In a context of memory culture.
estimated 4.5. It was revenge for their rebellion against collectivization and Russification.
There is an action, commemorating action event that takes place on the Remembrance Day of Holodomor victims every year. Officially, this commemoration action was established by the President of Ukraine 7 years since Ukraine gained its independence. Also, national, in the context of memory culture, National Remembrance Book of Holodomor Victims was published that mentions all the people that perished in the tragedy. And this book is created by Ukrainian Institute of Historical Memory, National Remembrance, that continues to create Holodomor electronic map in which all the data from National Memory Book is exposed. And all the victims are planned to be mentioned in this electronic resource. So that's the part. Also, we have the main research centers that work on Holodomor in Ukraine, that are Institute of History of Ukraine at the Ukrainian National Academy of Science, Ukrainian Institute of National Remembrance, Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv, Holodomor Ukrainian Research Center for National University of Kyiv Mohyla Academy. Holodomor Research and Education Consortium is a project of Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies of the University of Alberta, Ukrainian Research Institute at Harvard University. Also, there are some researchers abroad who explore Holodomor issue, in particular Timothy Snyder, American historian, author of a book, Bloodlands, Andrea Graziosi, Italian historian, author of a book, Letters from Kharkiv, The Famine in Ukraine and the North Caucasus in the Italian Diplomatic Reports, Ettore Cinella, Italian historian, author of a book, Ukraine, The Forgotten Genocide, and Norman Naimark, American historian, author of a book, Stalin's Genocides. Holodomor issue is always present in media discourse of Ukraine, multitude of documentaries, feature films, articles in print and online media, as well as TV and radio reports, are dedicated to the tragedy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, are there any questions?
I do.
Please.
Does anybody else?
At the moment, no.
I would like to ask you, you presented this two-part lecture of Holodomor and the Holocaust. How does they, as being historical phenomena of mass extermination people, how do they merge in this political culture? You told us about they are doing that, and they are doing again. These are the institutions. Is there any overview about the phenomenon, firstly? Secondly, could you tell us something about the Ukrainian collaborators? I mean, we heard a lot about there are just people who are very few, but we know that there was, of course, Ukrainian anti-Semitism and collaboration. Major part. Could you tell us something about that? Thirdly, what do you think about the little clips you showed us about how the Holodomor is memorized? It is, in my eyes, a horrible kitsch, and I have to say it's unbearable. We're talking about the famine of millions of people, and you have this music which could be, you know, in any kitsch movie. It's horrible to me the way it is presented.
Thank you very much for the question. You have asked about two parts of this memory culture in Ukraine. The answer is not very evident, but we have to understand that 20th century was terrible period for all the nations in the world, because there were two world wars, another terrible events that affected the mankind in various ways. And Ukraine was affected also largely by those events. And in the Second World War, as in the Holodomor times, there were two totalitarian regimes that made severe impact on our people, and we consider, from our point of view, from our time, we consider both of them as criminal regimes, because those authorities, those governments that make their people die for ideological reasons, for their ethnicity, as it was made for Jews, for other aspects, it must be considered as criminal, every government and its officials. So we understand that both of these criminal actions have to be condemned now, and recently I've read the book of Viktor Frankl. He is a brilliant psychiatrist of Vienna, and he spent a lot of time in Auschwitz and Oswiecim concentration camps, and we have to learn his lesson that was essential for surviving, not only physically but mentally and in spirit. We have to learn his lesson also in the understanding of the last freedom of a person, which is freedom not only not to be killed, but not to be suppressed, not to be not to be overwhelmed by different terrors, horrors of the outside reality. And he not only survived, but he made a conclusion that nobody can make person anything less than a human unless the person wants it, unless the person accepts it. And we have to understand that his lesson is actual for all of us. Thank you very much.
Скажіть, що те, що євреї зазнали від фашизму, саме зазнали сталінізм на совєтське.
What Professor Rizun says is that Jews were largely affected by the Holocaust, terrible events, and Ukrainians are common with Jews on the grounds that Stalin regime also exterminated Ukrainians as Hitler regime exterminated Jews, and we are largely common on that ground. So,
concerning your question about collaboration problem, we did not touch this problem because we are journalists, and it's a very complicated problem, and we think it's for professional historical discussion. Not because we did not touch this problem, because it's not very evident answer for this question. That because, and concerning the video, it's one example of video of interpretation in media, private media. In Novaday, the video for to show the people and to remember this this tragedy, and about quality or perception, it's we don't discuss now. We just show you, and thank you for your opinion about this video. It's very important to know for us as for journalists, and to for create maybe another video another time. Thank you.
One just to for the pause and for the break, because it's related to your keynote, Mr. Zuckerman. Because you talked about this genocide tag or label for a certain incident, and I think we have to mention also in the case of Holodomor that there was a wave of remembering this event, and it was, I think, in the late 90s, right? So the Remembrance Center like Yad Vashem is established in 99, very twisted times. So also you have to, I think it's important to see, but also Holodomor or the Armenian genocide, all these contemporary events we don't discuss globally, and we talked about 13 states who accepted, and I always ask my question, and I had the experience in Philadelphia that I had a verbal fight with historians, and we talked about 0.17 million, and we discussed numbers, and it was so crazy then. It was so crazy because it was different layers. The one side is the political, trying to bond your nation and to find a certain kind of patriotism, but also the historical truth or facts. And all the archives in Northern America and so on did a good job, but it's not done already. So I think this is a broad approach to discuss this. What does it mean for the Ukrainian people and political environment to place it in this time, and how to deal with it in a global way to get a broader acceptance of this fact and of this event, and how to remember that.
I want to add one aspect. We had a lot of discussion about the topic Holodomor when I were in Kiev for a longer time, and I learned this is a question to Moshe back, coming from the critical point you bring in our discussion. I learned in Kiev a positive type of patriotism on the Maidan. This gives to me new questions. I think perhaps we have a special view on Holocaust coming from the Western European experience, and we had the experience of 2 world wars in which the heroism was, or the nationalism was one of the driving factors for the break of civilization, you can say. But there are different historical experience in this case. And Herfried Münkler called, we live in a post-heroic society. If I compare the case of the Ukraine with Vietnam, we will discuss this in the afternoon, I feel a little bit strange if we come with our views on this phenomenon. My feeling was I was not completely able to understand their view on Holodomor, the patriotic aspect, and also the heroic moment. question to you is, perhaps we have different stages in commemorant cultures. The first is a little bit particularist, but in a deeper way, then we come to other stage of commemorance culture. And perhaps they are on a different stage. Yeah? And I'm not sure if we are should be the teacher to say you are not mature. You have to go. I feel a little bit inhibition, but I think so, and I feel like you in referring to the.
What I'm telling you, I asked 3 questions. Is there a merging of the Holodomor and the Holocaust in the national culture of Ukraine?
Yes, of course.
It was a legitimate question. The second one was, what can you tell us about the collaborators? Because we heard about the righteous of the nations, which is, I know. But what can you tell us about, and that belongs to the first question, because if you think about the Holocaust, and you think of the Holocaust, you think that some of the Ukrainian people were part and parcel of, making the Jewish Holocaust possible. So this is a legitimate question. And the third one was, of course, a question of taste. I thought it was an horrible kitsch, that kind of thing. We were talking about horrible things, and having, this little guitar music in the background. It's, I mean, in my view, it's horrible. But this is really nothing. I'm not teaching anybody how to commemorate. But the other 2 questions are legitimate questions.
Okay, we Ukrainian people are united in the considering 2 problems, Holodomor and Holocaust, in striving not to repeat them in the future. It's the main point, because we do not have to. These 2 are the tragedies for all of our people. And we have just to understand that's it. We don't have to let somebody do the same or something like that in the future. The second question regarding the collaborators, it was really the case during the Second World War. Ukrainian nationalists, some of them, were fighting on the side of Nazis, as well as a lot more part of Vlasov regiments. Russian army was also fighting for the Nazis. We don't have to confuse. Not against. On the side of them. It was, for the first time, at the beginning, it was fighting against the Nazis, but after it was captured, it was fighting on the side of Nazis till the end of the war. So we don't have to confuse, and we don't have to. It was terrible period when a lot of people were doing crazy things, and the main point here is not to let it repeat in the future.
Знаєте, чому співпраця з німецькими фашистами це є гірше, ніж співпраця з московськими сталіністами? Якраз для українців це нема різниці. Для українців і те це погано. Вони цього не можуть зрозуміти.
Professor Rizun says that, admits the point that collaboration with Stalin regime as well as collaboration with Hitler regime are both equally collaborations with both totalitarian regimes, and both regimes were really cruel and were cracking down Ukrainian people, and it was really the case.
So, thank you.
I have just one question. So, if you compare now the next generation in Ukraine, remembering and having a memory culture about Holodomor being more like, if you take the public view, the more Jewish issue, not Holodomor, the Holocaust being more the Jewish issue and Holodomor being more the national Ukraine issue. Which one dominates? I mean, just your impression in the Ukraine publicity. Like, if you see a video, it's definitely more the national Holodomor.
We cannot compare. We cannot actually compare because these two problems are aching Ukrainian people in the same way. So we cannot make that is our issue and that is not our issue. We cannot distinguish that. So the differences of both the tragedies were in the mechanisms, in the forms of committing these crimes. Mass extermination of Jews was made via concentration camps, and Holodomor in Ukraine during Polish people also, not only Ukrainian, Polish people, also Jews that were suffering of famine. It was made via procurements, via raising procurements plans, and all the people were expropriated all their foods, and they had nothing to eat. In blocked villages, and they could not move abroad, move to the cities where the situation was less harmful. And actually, we cannot distinguish these problems, and they are terrible for all of us in equal way.
So thank you very much. I think
you.
we make a short coffee break now.